Hello. How are you? Welcome. We're going to be doing a small show for you today, the two of us. Let me first of all introduce you. I'm Esther Stanhope, the Impact Guru, and we're going to be talking about glossophobia, the fear of public speaking. And let me introduce to you my glamorous partner in crime today, Olivia James. Olivia, how are you?
I'm really good, thank you. Yeah, it's a bright day here, and 2nd of January, new start to the new year, and I'm very happy to be talking to you.
Excellent. And yeah, we're both actually in London, but different parts of London. And it's not a beautiful view where I am, but it's a beautiful view of you, Olivia. Oh, and you're wearing my colour scheme. So
yes, I know.
So this is really exciting because I'm writing my book about glossophobia, the fear of public speaking. And my background, as you know, is broadcasting, and I've worked at the BBC for many years and dealt with the likes of Boris Johnson and big egos. And now I work in business, in the city, with banks, with places, people that work at Deloitte, or, you know, I work with strong personalities and a lot of leaders that need to be able to speak. And Olivia, you work with people on a daily basis because you are a therapist.
Yes.
And quite often people will come to you with glossophobia, the fear of public speaking. Yes. And what I have found with my clients is that it's actually the glossophobia or the fear of public speaking that's holding them back in their careers. And I too used to suffer from glossophobia. I can tell you a story about that in a little while. Yes. But first of all, Olivia, just give me a little idea of what you do and the kind of people that come to you and what they say to you.
So the kind of people that come to me are either executives or business owners and entrepreneurs who realize that avoidance is no longer really an option for them. A lot of people that I work with have had public speaking a phobia for a long time, and they've realized that it's actually holding them back. But one of the things that happens when somebody has a fear is it's very difficult to confront it, and very often people don't know that there is a way to confront it until they find somebody like you or me who can actually help them. Most of the time people think there is nothing that can be done, because the traditional advice of just imagine your audience naked just isn't going to cut it if you have a phobia. So,
and also, if you do imagine the audience naked, you could get yourself into all sorts of trouble.
Exactly. You would completely...
It doesn't work.
I know.
I have a blog actually, which is Don't Imagine the Audience Are Naked. And if you go to my website, estherstanhope.com, and look for the blog, there actually is a blog and on LinkedIn. Wow. Don't Imagine the Audience Naked. Oh, because as you can imagine, you might have a reaction to that in itself. It doesn't help because that's imagining something that's not helpful. So I'm glad that you've put that one, you've got that one straight. Okay. So tell me, so personally, when I first started, I mean, I've always been a behind the scenes person. I've done lots of drama in my life. I've directed plays. I've been a producer, and I've always kind of been comfortable in a studio full of people, but I'm the one behind the scenes. When I first started helping people and people asked me to speak, I was freaked out. And I, in the past, I've been at the Edinburgh Television Festival having to do a presentation. I was quite terrible and I completely lost my confidence. I felt sick. I felt as if I'd rather the earth would open up and swallow me up than stand and have an audience of people and eyes looking at me, because they might judge me. I might go red. I might make a fool of myself. I'm not good enough. It's so far out of my comfort zone. And many people I speak to have that. They say, I just don't want to do it. I hate it. Yeah. So what do you think step one of therapy is in your experience?
Realizing that you have a problem, and then it's actually basically costing you money, because it's basically limiting your career It's limiting the amount of business you can get if you're an entrepreneur. It's limiting the amount of presentations you can give as an expert, for example, in a field. Then of course, then you realize when the pain becomes too great, then you know, then people start to look for solutions. But very often there's a whole thing about feel the fear and do it anyway. And as a therapist, I have I don't know, I'm a bit in two minds about it, because yes, you have to step out of your comfort zone, but if it's completely overwhelming, if what you're wanting to do is completely activating your nervous system to the point where your whole system goes into fight or flight, and you can even go into freeze, then it's going to be even more traumatizing. So I think there has to be a way where you find someone who can help you to make it manageable, so that you do step out of your comfort zone, but you work with somebody like you or me, so people don't feel completely alone, and people feel that they have, at least they know the some of the practical things they can do, which is a massive part of helping managing that huge cocktail of emotions that happens that you were talking about. That's exactly when you're completely, terrified. That's what happens to people.
Yes. So to talk me through that. So the fight, flight, or freeze. I mean, that's quite well known, but just talk us through that really basically.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people say this trips off the tongue very easily, but what does it actually mean? So literally, when the thought of presenting for somebody, a client of mine developed a public speaking phobia, and the thought of presenting for her, if somebody said to her, hey, do you want to do a presentation next week? Her whole system, just at the thought, would react as if she was in physical danger. And this is what we're talking about. To your nervous system, the thought of presenting is akin to being physically, your life being under threat. That's what it feels like. And this is why people try and cope with all sorts of, some people might try and have a couple of stiff gin and tonics, or they try all sorts of different things. There are certain pharmaceutical drugs you can take to help just take the edge off. But you probably won't be very impactful as a speaker, which is, I know, your thing. So literally what happens is that your nervous system has perceived this thought, this situation, this potential situation that you're even thinking about. You're not actually even in it. And your whole system is reacting as if your survival is under serious threat.
That's right.
What we need to do is find a way to uncouple that reaction from the situation, which isn't actually, most of the time, your life isn't going to be under threat.
I know, and I think people, and we constantly have this voice in our head, what if? Yes. And I have done the what ifs. I have literally gone red. I have shaken. I remember I had to speak one of my first gigs. It was women in data, and I literally just forgot everything. That would have been fight, flight, or freeze. That was the freeze, when my brain just froze and my frontal cortex didn't work anymore.
Exactly.
So what happens is that our nervous system reacts into a completely, we build it's out of proportion, right? We build it up so it's as if our life depends on it. And actually, if we could take a step back, maybe the first thing we need to do is take a step back and think, well, actually, my life doesn't depend on it. But I know from my own experience that I just constantly, it goes round in my head. What am I going to say? What am I going to say? What am I going to say? And then we get fixated on content. And that's, again, where I can come in. That's where I help people to stop being fixated with content, because it's the way you approach the whole thing. And we are going to give you some really useful tips towards the end of our little show. But first of all, it's really good to explore that feeling of fight, flight, or freeze, or I'd rather die. This is awful. I don't want to be judged. What if I forget everything? Believe you me, I have done all of the things that you worry about. I've fallen over, I've worn the wrong shoes, I've worn the wrong clothes, I've sweated, I've said the wrong word, I've spoken gobbledygook. I literally have done all those things, and I've developed safety nets, and I've developed loads of tips and loads of quite an easy to adopt toolkit, actually, a practical toolkit. But I'm really interested though in the therapy side of it, because you're dealing with people in a way that's, you're thinking about the nervous system and what happens physically to our bodies.
Yes.
So come on, give us a little, a bit of an insight into what your advice is as a therapist, with somebody that needs to be able to do this stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What are your kind of
you want some of my party tricks?
Party trick, and I'll share my party tricks with you. You share yours with me. So you're on Harley Street, and you see people in Harley Street. So you've got lots of people coming to you with this problem.
Yeah. So I've got two go-to techniques for this. One of them is a technique called meridian tapping, which the person can use for themselves. So I taught this to a client who was giving a keynote to 500 people. He works in the oil industry, but he has a stammer, and he needed something to be able to manage his anxiety while he was giving the keynote. So I taught him this tapping technique, and that you can use. So you can tap like this on specific meridian points.
What are meridian points?
Basically, so when people have acupuncture, there are these lines in the body, these energy lines, that respond to emotions and certain organs. And they found that if you tap with 2 fingers on these points, it actually reduces your cortisol and it reduces your anxiety. It sends calming signals to the amygdala, which is the bit in your brain that's responsible for fight or flight. So I taught this client this technique, and I taught him the finger tapping that I was taught by my mentor, Steve Wells, who's a psychologist from Australia. And I taught him how to do this tapping, and he was able to tap under the lectern the whole way through the speech. So the other thing that I do with people, if somebody has this very specific phobia and tapping alone isn't going to help to manage their anxiety, then also I have a technique that works on specific negative memories. So I had a client who went completely blank on stage. And after that, you're talking about, you're wanting to disappear. Well, can you imagine what that was like? Giving a presentation to 100 colleagues in your field of expertise and completely going blank. So what I did with her is I worked on that specific memory, and we did an eye movement technique to uncouple that memory from the reaction, and after that she was able to get back to presenting. So sometimes there is a more therapeutic approach that needs to happen, and then the person is much more able to then to learn the techniques that somebody like you can teach them. Because if somebody's massively in fight or flight, it can be very difficult for them to learn the technical things, even if their rational mind is kind of willing. If their nervous system is totally freaked out, there's not much stuff they can't actually learn, and they won't be able to be an impactful speaker probably, because they'll still be really nervous, and everyone can tell if a speaker's nervous, and the audience reacts better if the person is feeling relaxed and looks like they're having fun, on stage.
So actually tapping, and I have got a couple of similar stories actually from clients. One client absolutely bombed in front of the senior management team that had flown in for the town hall in London, and it was an international town hall, and she was given the presentation from another colleague who was a man. It doesn't matter that he was a man. The fact is, it was his speech, it was his content. He had thought it through. It was his material, and she kind of stepped in at the last minute and had to present this speech to the senior team, and she freaked out and froze.
Right.
And she then avoided any kind of speaking, even in board meetings. So you can imagine how damaging that was to her career.
Yes.
For 8 years.
Wow.
8 years. And then so when I spoke to her, it was about it. Maybe it was therapy. Maybe she might have needed therapy before we even tackled, okay, this is how you can approach it, because you can do this. And seriously, you can do this. Anyone can speak well. Anyone, even if you've got a stammer, an accent, you don't look beautiful, whatever, you don't feel that you look beautiful. I'm sure you are beautiful inside. Anyone can be good at this. And what happens is that people quite often talk themselves out. They say, I am terrible. This happened to me. I can't do it. It's terrible. But they need to be able to do it for their job. And actually, for me, a lot of it is when we're talking about content, because a lot of the time people are just obsessed. What am I going to say? What am I going to say? It's not about the content. It's actually about the change of attitude.
Yes.
Is how am I going to do it? How am I going to approach this? So therapy is one thing, and that would actually be a really good way to unblock your past demons.
Yes.
And the tapping technique, I mean, I haven't tried that live. And now you see, I don't have glossophobia anymore. I'm comfortable in front of a large audience, which I never in a million years would have thought I would ever say that. I've never tried the tapping, but I do have a few friends that are in the acting world, professional actors, and if they get very nervous about stage fright, I think they've done different types of tapping. I can't remember where the tapping, I think, was here. Does that make sense?
There's a collarbone point here.
Yeah.
Just to the left of your sternum and just under your collarbone.
Yes.
Slightly sore, that little point there.
Yeah.
That's a good point if you tap there.
And also, I think there were temples. Did you tap on your temples?
No, there's points there on the bony bit on the outside of the eye and under the eye as well.
Wow. Is it easy to find out where to tap if you wanted to do a DIY?
I've done some videos on tapping, but I can put together something. I can put together a little PDF. Because it's a really portable way to just manage your anxiety. Even if you're waiting to go on stage, there's obviously other things you can do as well.
Yes.
But yeah, tapping is a very useful tool for a lot of people. Yes.
And so what I tend to my party trick, if you like, when it comes to unlocking the anxiety, when it comes to public speaking, and when it comes to changing somebody's mind, particularly if they're very senior, they've got a partners conference or whatever coming up, and they need to look good, and the pressure. It's that pressure. I've got to look credible. I've got to look good. One of my party tricks is, look, no, you don't have to be the slickest person in the world, and you don't have to be like anyone else. You've got to find your way. And sometimes when people realize that A, they don't have to be perfect, and B, their way might not be the same as anyone else, and it's okay to find your own, design your own strategies, design your own speech. Maybe you have a script, maybe you don't have a script, maybe you have slides, maybe you don't, maybe you have visuals, but it's about designing it whatever is going to suit you, but always being very, very, very clear about the audience and how much the audience don't care.
Yeah.
And it's a mind shift, the audience don't care that much. How can you serve them and make the experience good for them and not think about yourself so much? So that's that. So my party trick is actually just getting a flip chart and a pen out sometimes and saying, right, let's just talk about what you're worried about, and let's just put up on this board, what do we think the audience really cares about, and let's just focus on that. Sometimes just by focusing on why the audience are sitting there, automatically unlocks that
Yes.
fear of judgment and the fear of I've got to be brilliant.
And also, I think from a physiological nervous system point of view, that basically takes the attention out of them onto the audience.
Yes.
Which literally, it changes your nervous system. It kind of tries to get you back into this thing called social engagement. So, because very often, if somebody is in a massive panic, that's all they can feel is their own feelings in their body. And it's just, and like you say, just to say, actually, the audience, they are not there to like destroy you. They just want to have a good time, right? They want to be entertained and informed and all the rest of it. So that also, I think that changes the psychology and the physiology again, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I didn't really think of it like that, because I was always thinking of it on a practical level, having worked in live studios, and it's always about what's coming out of the speakers, what's going into the microphone, and just being very aware of, you know, moment by moment, and crafting good content to please people and to create some entertainment.
Yeah.
If I'm always coming at it from that kind of angle, I suppose I never really thought, actually, just by reframing it physically and geographically, and just thinking about those seats rather than my stage, that is making a huge shift in your physiological makeup, you know, and all of those. And I didn't even think about the nervous system. And it's really useful to know that you're actually changing your nervous system by changing the way you think. And also, another one of my party tricks is to, you know, to actually think about the content that the audience will be really enjoying, and thinking about stories. And sometimes, and most of the time, when I'm working with my clients, I've had people go from, I don't think I can do this, or this is the most terrifying thing ever, and what am I going to say? What am I going to say? How can I look intelligent? How can I possibly look like I've got any presence or gravitas when I'm this terrified?
Yeah.
And I've taken them within, you know, an hour and a half from that to, yeah, that would be good. Yeah, that would be a great story.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm actually quite looking forward to it.
I know.
And people don't believe me when I tell them you can actually be looking forward to sharing your great stories and being yourself and letting yourself go a bit and be your, you know, because there are so many layers of things that you've got to do in order to make yourself feel comfortable. I'm not saying that you will feel comfortable, not for a long time, because it took me a long time to feel comfortable. I actually do remember one of my clients saying to me, we went through this big speech that she had, and it was for very senior people, and we talked about the content, and she was very happy with what we'd come up with and the whole strategy and safety nets, like having a script ready in case her mind went blank, and maybe a little prompt board over here, maybe some visuals that were helping her. And then she said at the end, I said, you know, do you think you're up for this? And she said, I'm really happy with this, and this is such a great way of communicating my message of, you know, it's a message about leadership. And then she said to me, but where is the comfort? Can I have something that will make me feel comfortable? Like, is there a hot water bottle, or is there a sucky blanket I can take on stage with me? Where's the comfort? And I thought that was a really good way of articulating that sensation of, I can do it, and I know in theory the content's right, but I feel so uncomfortable. You know, where is the comfort?
Well, I mean, from you and I have had conversations about this before.
Yeah.
And I think a part of where the comfort is to have somebody like you who says, right, I've got this, we've got this, we can do this is how you're going to do it. Like, and to really help them. And that, I think, helps to settle them completely.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Once they're actually on stage, they've got that preparation, and they've got you in their corner, which is massive, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's where the comfort is.
Yeah.
And
also having a mantra, having a what if, and then there's an answer.
Absolutely.
Every single,
But that is vital.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if the one of the what if I shake, what if I sweat, there's another one of my little party tricks is the breathing technique. So you've talked about tapping, which is quite kind of technical in terms of its proper therapy.
Yeah.
One of my quick fixes is literally just the slow breathing out to get rid of cortisol. From your point of view, how helpful is breathing and breathing out?
Oh, breathing is massive. Breathing is massive. I mean, breathing, like shallow sort of quick breathing is a feature of like fight, flight, of course.
Yeah. So if you're,
yeah,
that's bad.
Yeah.
And then if you breathe out, that's good.
Absolutely. It can help to settle you, and it can help, you know, you can anchor it, because you can kind of use it as a little relaxation, sort of like, okay, this is how we prepare. You can make a little like a bit like in the way athletes do. You can have a little pre-speech routine. One of my well, we started calling them party tricks, so we carry on calling them party tricks. To make eye contact with a few people while you're waiting to go on.
Yes.
Because that will also help to get you out of your own freak out into, which is a technical term, into like social engagement, which is that state of your vagus nerve, to help you actually connect with other people. And so the eye contact, smiling at people, if you're really freaked out, you can start to look around the room and sort of orient yourself and move your neck. You can even like count the amount of lights on the ceiling or whatever. That helps to also get you out again and bring your attention out, and helps to sort of orient yourself in literally what you're doing. You're scanning the environment. You're sending signals to your nervous system. There aren't any predators. Basically, that's part of what you're doing by moving your neck. So yeah. So we're getting close to
to the end of our first show.
we tend to have way too much fun when we get together.
Yeah, we could go on. We could do another one of these shows as well. We could do part 2, which is, you know, to do with content and how to cope with the Q&A and all lots of different things.
Oh
like
my
that.
gosh, Q&A handled badly can completely. I've seen Q&A not go too well, and it an otherwise good talk can be let down by a really badly handled Q&A I've seen. So
well, I think we could definitely do another show. We could pick one little subject, make it a little bite-sized chunk, and that would be a lot of fun, because we've kind of covered the general subject of the fear of public speaking. We know that what it's happening to our bodies now. We know it freaks people out. We know there is a way out, whether it's alternative therapy or complementary therapy or tapping, which is what you're an expert in, or whether it's about content, whether it's about reassurance from me and confidence, and all of the experience I've had at the BBC helping people to be confident quickly. And there are loads of content tips, which we're not going to go into in detail today. But what you can, so from my point of view, if you go to my website, I am writing a book on glossophobia, the fear of public speaking, based on all of the experience that I've had personally, and all of the clients, the many clients that I've worked with, I've helped, and they've tried all these tips. If you go to my website, which is estherstanhope.com, and Esther is spelled with an H, E-S-T-H-E-R. So that's estherstanhope.com. You can find my blog on there as well. And Olivia, how can we find you?
You can go to my website, which is harleystreetcoach.com, and find out more about my work that way.
Great. And you have loads of different party tricks. I love our party tricks. I think we'll definitely have to do it again. But thank you so much, Olivia. This been absolutely brilliant, doing our little glossophobia show.
Thank you.
And I think we've kind of know now that, well, for the final message from me is, do not avoid public speaking. It is a game changer to your career and to you as a person and to your confidence. You need to feel the fear and do it anyway, which is something that Olivia spoke about earlier. Be bold, get out there, and do it. And the more you do it, the less freaked out you'll be. You will be comfortable if you do it more.
Yes.
And that's my final message. Be bold, go out and do it more. What's your final message, Olivia?
My final message is definitely don't expect that you're just, everything will just be easy. You need to get help with this. You can get help, and then you can achieve much more than you ever thought possible. So just find the right people to help you, and you will be you won't be harming your career anymore and your self-confidence, which is so important. So yeah.
And on that note, over and out.